Okay, Rich and other candidates. I am going to try to combine 4 questions into one so that we can get them all here. They're rather similar. I will read all the questions and then you can respond, but they all deal with conflict of interest. As a council member making decisions on development projects in Menlo Park, how do you maintain independence and non-conflict of interest while accepting campaign contributions from committees funded to the extent of $200,000, which has a major project being considered for the council? Do you think council candidates should accept donations from developers who have projects pending before the council? Can you vote on matters that involve Stanford, or do you have a conflict of interest that means you have to be excused? And the one that kind of sums it up, are there any reasons that would disqualify you from discussing the Pacific plan as a council member?
Okay. I'm not disqualified from discussing the specific plan, but on the issue of conflict of interest, it's a very good question. I think it comes down to a matter of principle with the council members. I've been on the council 8 years. And I've never once thought about somebody's support, whether they put a sign up or wrote me a check, as anything during the voting process. It just isn't relevant at all in the process, and you can probably check the records and see how mad people are at me that had supported me before. I think it is a matter for the public that they should be concerned if they see there is a high percentage of money that's coming into one person from somebody that may have a project on the table. But I think there needs to be some kind of set parameters on what that means. And in some cases, it may be somebody is dropping a flyer or somebody's writing a big check. And I think that's up to the community to figure out which one of those they think may be a conflict for the council members. In my case, I don't believe there's a immediate set conflict of interest if you get support from somebody with a project or with a party that's going to potentially be voted upon in the city. I think you can hold a line of integrity in that, but I do think that the community has the right and very well should hold the stick to people for that conflict of interest.
Thank you. Kirsten?
Thank you. I don't have any, I can talk about the specific plan, I can talk about Stanford, I can vote on Stanford and the specific plan. I don't have any conflicts on that. As far as the question about contributions, I think I agree. I mean, you should absolutely. Everybody got to see who contributed to all of our campaigns. We have campaign finance reforms that are online. Anybody can go and look at those, and it's important to look at. I mean, you want to see who's giving money to who. I think for myself, I am no on M, and came out, we all at a council meeting voted to put this on the ballot because we didn't think it was a good policy for Menlo Park. It's just not a good way to do your land use planning. And we have so many reasons why. So it's on the ballot. I'm running against it. And I think when you look at campaign finance disclosures, if somebody wants to drop my flyer, they can drop my flyer. I'm not receiving any money from them. I think that, as Rich mentioned, there's flyer dropping and I think some slate mailings, and that's it. And those are in the campaign finance disclosures, but they're not direct contributions to me.
Thank you. Peter?
I have no conflict related to Stanford. I'm not received nor will I accept any contribution from Stanford. Not disqualified. I would also say that with respect to contributions from developers, $500 is not going to change my vote. My vote is always going to be about analyzing, understanding both positions and sides, and trying to make the best decision that I can on behalf of the residents of Menlo Park. And, sorry, $500, I'm going to do that. So don't worry. So no worries. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Kelly? Well, my financial contributors are the residents of Menlo Park, and I get most of my contributions in small contributions from every neighborhood throughout the city. I think it's an interesting choice, Councilmember Keith, that you would choose to pose with the developer of the Stanford project in your campaign literature. For all the loopholes that I have discussed this evening that I think need to be closed, these are loopholes in the overall general plan, loopholes that I talked about when I was tried to persuade the council about when I was up here on the dais previously. So I have no conflict of interest when it comes to the closing these loopholes that will give the city back its negotiating leverage with these large developers so that the public can get the amenities that they were promised in the visioning process. The things like public art, improvements to Santa Cruz Avenue, bicycle and pedestrian amenities. The incumbent council members gave away all these development rights, and then now we're trying to negotiate nibble at the edges to try to get something. This is not the way you work with developers. Stanford is tough to negotiate with. You've got to come in there with a strong position and negotiate.
Thank you, Kelly. Kristen?
So to answer the question, with respect to Stanford, I would have a conflict of interest on decisions related to Stanford, so I would recuse myself, which I understand there's plenty of precedent for handling that. With respect to the specific plan, I would be able to vote on that as long as my understanding is related to the entire specific plan area. In terms of accepting contributions, I feel that I take a very hard line on that, and that I would not accept any contributions from someone that I thought would have business before the city. It actually came up with a small donate, like a small individual donor, where I understood ahead of time that based upon this person's previous discussions about their preferences, I knew that they would be in conflict with mine going forward. So I did discuss with them about accepting their donation because I wanted to make sure that they understood that if that issue came before me, that I would not vote in a manner that was consistent with what they wanted, and left that up to their decision to decide whether to proceed with the donation. I just felt like that was the really honest thing to do, was sort of disclose that going ahead of time. So I just think it's really important that we do separate our personal interests from the business that comes before the council.
Thank you, Kristen. Drew?
So I'll go down. I have no conflicts with Stanford. I do root for their football team, but I don't think that's a conflict at all. I have no conflicts regarding the specific plan. And as I said in my sort of opening statement, I, from the very beginning, made the pledge that I would not accept donations from any group that would possibly have a financial interest in matters before the city council. I think, we're asking, and some of us obviously already are, and we all are to some degree, we're saying we're the leadership here. And I think leadership is about setting examples. It's not about saying, well, that's not enough to sway me. It's about being an example to the citizens and being transparent. And that's what, for me, that's why I made that pledge. I wanted to be completely transparent, and I wanted to show leadership that this community and its values, all of the people in this community, they are who important, their values, and they're the ones who are important to me. And I think when you allow yourself to be, when you allow certain special interests to give you large or even small sums of money, I think it shows the optics. It shows that maybe you might be. And I think that if you're in a leadership position, even that 1 inch, even given that 1 inch or even that half of inch, that you're not completely unbiased is a problem.
Thank you, Drew.